Something to forget, including a bad wild card loss to the Rams in which Kyler Murray threw for 2 interceptions and only 137 yards. Our Chris Mortensen is reporting that tension in Arizona between the star quarterback and his team. Kyler responded to this on Twitter. I play this game for the love of it, my teammates, everyone who has helped me get to this position, that believed in me, and to win championships. All of this is nonsense. It's not what I'm about, never has been, and never will be. Anyone who has ever stepped between those lines with me knows how hard I go. Love me or hate me, but I'm going to continue to grow and get better. Swagoo back here with us. Marcus, I'll start with you. Is the Kyler criticism warranted?
Yeah, it's fair. It's fair because it's fair just like any other polarizing star quarterback for their franchise. And two, like we are getting to the point, Kyler's about to be in year 4 of his deal. We're getting to the point where we attribute the success of your team to who you are as a quarterback. We know Kyler is dynamic. He can play at a high level like any other quarterback in this league. But the reality is, if you paid attention to Kyler Murray, his demeanor on the sideline is questionable. How he responds to adversity at times is questionable. How he looks at his teammates and how he does things when things aren't going well is very questionable. And as a player, as a former player on the sideline, I don't want to see my QB pouting. I want to see him mad. That's fine. It's fine for you to get upset and frustrated. It's fine for you to get in guys' grill and tell them what we need to do and but to some of the demeanor and the things that I've seen, they kind of relate to what's been said. Now, here's the thing. With a franchise, you don't want to let this get out, right? With respect to what you're trying to do in your building. But ultimately, all you got to do is look. There have been instances where I've looked at Kyler Murray and I've had conversations with people about Kyler Murray that says when you see him going through like bad things on the field, when you see him on the sideline, his demeanor is not what you would want from your first overall pick, the face of your franchise. And then Kyler comes out with that statement. I don't doubt that Kyler wants to win. I don't doubt that he gets ready every season to have success. I doubt none of that. But what I do know and what's factual is I've watched the Arizona Cardinals fall off twice in towards the back end of seasons. And this doesn't absolve Cliff Kingsbury. It doesn't absolve Steve Keim. It doesn't absolve anybody that's not doing their job at a high level. But we're talking about Kyler right now. Face of your franchise has times where it looks like he's pouting and not ready for the moment in certain situations, and we got to call that out.
Swagoo, I'm an individual that doesn't believe I lose debates, to be quite honest with you, because either I'm absolutely positively right or I learn from the person who is right, and so I've edified myself and I'm better for it. That's how I view a debate situation, which is why I say I've never lost a debate. And I'm not about to lose one right now. That's why I say I'm not about to lose one right now. And I'm willing to go so far as to say that I'm going to get you to see my way on this one. Okay. Because what you said, and I'm being dead serious right now, what you said, I don't disagree with your points. But here's where I'm going to get Swagoo, Marcus Spears, right to my side. Why the hell we hearing about this now? See, that's the problem. That's where it gets shit.
Got a great point.
Everybody missing that. That's why I went off yesterday about this the way that I do. I'm not in Arizona, bro. I don't cover the Arizona Cardinals. Yep. If you Cliff Kingsbury, Cliff Kingsbury, and you're saying that Kyler Murray doesn't communicate, okay, fine. You Steve Keim, and you got an issue with his communication skills, fine. You cats like Colin Cowherd and others, and you bring up the fact that quarterbacks need to communicate, fine. No disagreement whatsoever. But we hear about that now that he's due for an extension, that he's open for an extension. You see how slick this is? See, when people get uncomfortable, they get uncomfortable because Stephen A is bringing up something and it alludes to race or whatever. I got news for y'all. I'm tired of talking about it. I want to talk sports. I want to talk about life. I want to talk about race. I want to talk about black, white. You think I don't have better things to do with my damn time? I do. But each and every single time, the American way seems to be about forcing people like me to address subjects I'd rather not address. My question is, why now? all of you pundits, all of you
Yeah.
commentators, all of you aficionados, radio hosts, and everybody else, why now when it comes to this guy? Kyler Murray been around here for 3 years. When we hear about this, Marcus, when did we hear, oh, you know what? He's difficult to communicate with. We can't talk to him. Oh, really? Really?
Yeah.
Because, see, I recall Aaron Rodgers. I recall even Jay Cutler and his depressing-looking self. I mean, the list goes on and on. But they got their money first. This brother right here is trying to get it. And now that he's trying to get it, now we're hearing that. But he was the best thing since sliced bread when they were 10-0. Was it 9-0, 10-0? All right. They started off the season. They were flat out balling. Oh, he was the man then. Okay. But now that you get bounced out in the first round, it's about him. You brought in a rookie coach in Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury, no disrespect. The house is beautiful, by the way. I'm very, very jealous of the crib that he had showing off for the NFL draft a couple of years ago. That's a crib I'd like to have. Here's the deal. This brother never coached in the NFL on any level. Ever.
No, sir.
Ever. When he was at Texas Tech, I'm sorry, I heard Nick Saban's name. I heard Dabo Swinney. I heard a whole bunch. Hell, I heard Jimbo Fisher. I heard a whole bunch of guys. I heard Lane Kiffin. I never, ever, ever heard anybody bringing up Cliff Kingsbury. We had to Google and go to the archive. Who's the coach of Texas Tech? Who's this guy? We didn't know him. They
How?
Listen, I'm going like this. All right, so how you elevate to the head coaching job, bypassing white and black coaches, elevate to an NFL position, okay? Did it ever occur to anybody that if the coach was a veteran and seasoned NFL veteran coach, communication might not be the problem? Because they would know what to do with a young dude like Kyler Murray? Nobody brought that up.
That's why I made it. That's why I made it a point to say this does not absolve Kingsbury. But you know as well as I know in this particular situation, and you got a great point. Me and you have had debates on Aaron Rodgers and his demeanor and how he does things. We talked about Urban Meyer, how he used to stand on the sideline looking stupid when all hell was breaking loose for Trevor Lawrence. Yeah. My point about Kyler Murray is this. All right, first of all, I think Kyler Murray is a top-tier talent at quarterback in the NFL. Okay, there are some things that are left to be desired when it's not going well and all things aren't perfect, that you see him kind of succumb to some things in the game. But that's not too indifferent to any other quarterback that we watch play. Here's my thing though, SA, and you know I'm big on this. You and I've had a lot of conversations about how you read into things when you're a player. I personally do not like Kyler Murray's optics when things go bad. Okay. And that gives this validity when this comes out. I hate that it gives it validity. I hate that it's something that people are going to look to and say, kind of makes sense based on his reaction to a lot of things that developed over this time.
Do you have an example? Yeah. When you're saying optics of his behavior, because obviously I know he stunk it up in the playoff game. He threw 2 picks and no touchdowns. So I know that's on him, not just the coach. But as far as that demeanor.
We can go back. We can go back and look at that particular game. We can look at the Green Bay game. When things are going bad, pay attention to Kyler Murray on the sideline. And it will show you why people think this and why people say this.
And my response to you, big boy, is this. That stuff was going on before this season. How come they ain't say it?
Yes.
Well, no.
Yes, it was, Molly. It was going on. What Marcus just pointed to, his optics, that was going on before this season. Yeah. Why would you bring it up now that the brother is sitting back and saying, excuse me, I passed up a baseball career. I reneged on going to the Oakland A's in Major League Baseball. I came into the NFL. Y'all drafted me #1. I just got us to the playoffs. I'm looking to get paid, and now we want to bring this up.
I'll tell you why. Because they were world beaters, and they were undefeated for a long time, and then then they go, when they lose DeAndre Hopkins, they go 3-6, and then they stink it up in the playoffs, an early exit. That's why. That's why all eyes are on, because they felt like they didn't live up to expectations.
Well, you could say
Frustration
that.
They had
is
a
warranted.
huge lead in the NFC
5-10
for majority of the
8-8.
season.
5-10, 8-8 before this season. So when
about this season.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is when Marcus is talking about the optics, we're talking about something we've seen from Kyler Murray since he came into the NFL. My point is, why would you pick it up now?
No. I hear you, and I get where that smells. What I'm saying to you, I'm not even paying attention to the demeanor and optics because I don't care if you're winning. When you're winning, that cures all. The problem was they were so successful. And then they fell off.
Well, I disagree.
Yeah, we having the conversation, S.A. Molly is right, bro. We having the conversation because of how it ended.
Exactly.
But to your point, like, these things can be true. Stephen A., it is fishy that is coming out now in the middle of the timeline.
That's all the brother say.
Contract. But what I'm saying is the validity is given to it because of Kyler's reaction when you see him pouting on the sideline. So now, like, do I want to run to the defense? You damn right. I've told you a million times, I want every single professional athlete to get every cent that they can get. But you give it validity when you give that type of energy
but I didn't deny that.
optically when people are watching you.
But I didn't deny that there was validity to it. What I said yesterday, Molly, if you recall, I didn't deny it. I said I don't want to hear it. You didn't say it before. Don't say it now that he's looking for his money.
That's fair.
Don't do that.
I think it's all true. I'm just saying if they were winning and they finished as hot as they started, we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
All right, you want me to drop the mic right now?
Yeah.
You want me to drop the mic? Why don't you do some research, Molly? All of us. Do some research. Let's see the white quarterbacks that they talk about and the black quarterbacks that they talk about. Same arguments, same issues, whatever. Notice how with the black quarterbacks, it's before they get their money. But with the other dudes, it's after they get their money.
Also fair. Also
fair. That's what I'm talking about. But that's all I'm talking about.
All things are true here. I think all things we're saying are true. All right, we'll leave it there, guys. Still ahead on First Take. Does a Super Bowl ring now mean Matthew Stafford will one day be wearing a gold jacket? Not everybody here. Sting. Giving us pause there. Marcus, I'll start with you. Does Matthew Stafford belong in the Hall of Fame?
No, Molly. And the truth sounds like hate to people that don't want to hear the truth. And I think this about Matthew Stafford. He's still writing that book. He still has time to continue to write his Hall of Fame book. But right now, no. Like, when you look at, being required to talk about the Hall of Fame as a player, I ain't in that tier, but I know what I see. And I know what type of guys are in the Hall of Fame. And all of those guys have been all pros, most of them. All of those guys have been multiple-time Pro Bowlers. All of those guys at some point in the league, to Richard Sherman's point, has been in our minds as the best, as the guy that we look to during any given NFL season and says, nobody is on that level. He's doing it at a very high level. Yes, Matthew Stafford has thrown for a lot of yards. He's played 13 years. He played with Calvin Johnson. Most quarterbacks with any post could throw for a lot of yards with Calvin Johnson. That's not to absolve, that's not to discredit things that Matthew Stafford has done. Is he phenomenal? As a former player playing against Matthew Stafford, did you have to pay crazy attention to him? Absolutely. Can he make all the throws? Yes. One of the Super Bowl throws, the no-look, that's one of the best throws I've seen in a game in a Super Bowl. Yes. So Matthew Stafford has a lot of great things. And I hate to be debating this after the man just came off of a Super Bowl. But when I think about Hall of Fame, you think about names like Deion Sanders and Troy Aikman and Dan Marino and John Elway and Drew Brees and Peyton Manning, and obviously Tom is going to get in. And all of these great guys, Roger Staubach. Like, you think about all of these guys that's in the Hall of Fame, and then you think about Matthew Stafford, and you got to ask yourself, how does he stack up against the guys that it has been a prerequisite for to get into Canton as much as they've accomplished, the things that they have attached to their names as individual awards? I just can't find that right now with Matthew Stafford.
You know, it's interesting that you say that, man. And I get where you're coming from. And I want to say this. I'm open to being corrected on this because I'm going to be serious because the man just won a Super Bowl championship, and I can understand the sensitivity that comes along with it. That's your sensitivity. My sensitivity is not only love for you, you know I got love for my brother Richard Sherman now. You know I consider that a brilliant brother who will be in the Hall of Fame someday himself, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as I'm concerned, is a treasure in this league because of some of the things that he's been able to do. Richard Sherman, I hope you watch it. I don't disagree with one word he said in his quote in terms of the question marks about Matthew Stafford. My point is, you're absolutely right. The bar has been lowered. That's why I said he's a Hall of Famer. I didn't say Matthew Stafford's a Hall of Famer because I'm running around with pom-poms like I'm Dan Orlovsky. You understand what I'm saying? Waving pom-poms, about to treat him out to dinner. He don't want to spend
crying,
money.
jumping in his arms.
That's right, jumping in his arms and stuff. Dan Orlovsky don't want to pay money for his wife and him to be in first class.
Oh, leave Dan alone.
Oh, I'm not letting him go there. You put the wife in
Get
first
him.
class.
No, don't let him go.
Damn
Yep.
shame.
Get
I'm
him.
not, you
Get
do
him.
that. You
Get him,
Dan
S.A.
Orlovsky, you cheap,
Yes.
you cheapskate. What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Exceptional NFL analyst. We are happy and proud to have him as a part of the family. I mean, the only thing better than Dan Orlovsky on NFL Live, aside from me, the Laura Rutledge, and Swagoo, is big man bowling. Okay, that's big man bowling. Nothing beats big man bowling. Okay, you got to watch that.
BMB.
We understand that. Okay, but Dan Orlovsky is the truth. And all of this stuff, he succeeded. He gonna be cheap and don't want to take his wife for first class. He should be ashamed of himself. Ashamed, Dan Orlovsky. Ashamed. Now let me get back to Swagoo.
You should be ashamed, Dio.
When we talk about the bar being lowered, Richard Sherman is right. You know what our proof is, theoretically speaking, or at least, from a prognosticating standpoint? Isn't everyone talking about Eli Manning being a Hall of Famer? I know he's a two-time Super Bowl champion. Stay with me. Stay with me. I know this hurts, Molly.
It doesn't hurt. It's wrong.
Eli Manning is 117 and 117 as a quarterback for the New York Giants. We know what a horrid organization the Detroit Lions have been. I mean, my God. Who was the coach? Who was the coach from Sandy? I mean, that forced Barry Sanders to walk away, Bobby Ross. I mean, they sat up there and let Bobby Ross alienate Barry Sanders. I mean, how stupid can you be? No wonder they haven't won a damn playoff game since 1991.
Okay. Keep going.
1991. These are the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
So, Eli Manning, we love Eli. Class personified. He's a Manning. We know he's going to go in the Hall of Fame. But the question is, when you think about the Hall of Famers who are there, he was 117 and 117. Okay? He doesn't even have a 2-touchdown to turnover to interception, 2-to-1 turnover touchdown to interception ratio. Okay? You look at them. I'm looking at the New York Giants with Eli Manning there because he's just been gone a couple of years. Okay? We talking about 6 times in 7 years. They missed the playoffs 9 times in 11 years, whatever the number.
Tell me when I'm allowed to speak.
They missed the playoffs, right? We're talking about all of that, all right? We talking about all of that. And we also talking about how he led the league in interceptions 3 times.
Okay.
And he was never once considered to be anything close
Okay.
to the best quarterback in football.
Marcus,
so if we're going to do that, and that guy's in the Hall of Fame with the 2 Super Bowls, how come Matthew Stafford, who was universally recognized as an elite quarterback, but just saddled with being a Detroit Lion, his first year apart from that organization, he wins a Super Bowl championship, could have easily been the MVP since Cooper Kupp got it, could have easily went to him. How do we ignore that?
Okay, let me just say this really quickly. First of all, I'm not going to hate on Detroit, and I'm not going to hate on Matthew Stafford, but I'm not going to put Matthew Stafford in the same sentence as Eli Manning when we're talking Hall of Fame. And a lot of people don't believe Eli Manning is a Hall of Famer because Matthew Stafford has no MVPs, okay? So Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowl MVPs. He has 2 Super Bowl titles. Stephen A., knocking off Tom Brady in the Patriots, the best ever. He's top 10 in NFL history in pass yards, pass TDs, completions, and attempts. Their resumes, you talk about resume. Don't tell me Matthew Stafford's resume is the same as Eli Manning.
I'm saying to you, listen to me good. 17 to 14, 21 to 7. Well, excuse me, I'm answering the question. You don't want me to answer the question?
Well, it's not really.
You want me to answer the question?
Regular season numbers. That mean nothing to me. I'm talking about when it counts.
You gave me your fact. I'm sorry, I just brought up the Super Bowl. That don't count? I'm bringing up the Super Bowl. 17 to 14, 21 to 17, the Giants' defense swarmed Tom Brady. The offenses in both games were relatively average. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, and more importantly, your Hall of Fame ain't just about 2 games unless it is.
Okay.
And if it is about 2 games, then I can look at a talent like Matthew Stafford, combined with a now Super Bowl championship on the resume, and say, excuse me, Richard Sherman is right. It's been diluted. The bar has been lowered.
That's fair.
And because the bar has been lowered, Matthew Stafford can get in because it's been lowered.
Don't bring up Super Bowl scores. What was the score in this Super Bowl?
Eli.
The Bengals almost
Eli
won.
going to the Hall of Fame.
And don't talk to me about the defense. Have
Eli
you seen
going
the
to the
defense
Hall
on
of
the
Fame.
Rams? You were the one that said that Donald is maybe better than LT.
Have you seen the Giants defense? Have you said, excuse me, I did not say Aaron Donald was better than LT. Excuse me, you better check your ears. I didn't say that.
We literally debated that on the show yesterday.
I
Steve,
said
you
he's
said,
top
let's
2.
ask Bill
Eli.
Belichick. There's a strong, we'd have to ask Bill Belichick because there's a strong case. We debated that on the show.
Yes, but I didn't say Lawrence Taylor was inferior or Aaron Donald was better than Lawrence Taylor.
What did you say?
I said you have to ask Bill Belichick because even though I would say that, the bottom line is Bill Belichick is the man that you got to ask about that because you can't even have that conversation with him. That is not the same as saying that Aaron Donald is better than Lawrence Taylor.
Well, if we need to ask Bill Belichick, then you're saying it is a conversation.
It's a conversation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Don't talk to me about the Giants. Don't talk to me about the Giants defense. We're not going to talk about the Rams defense.
You wouldn't even be making this argument if you wasn't a Giants fan. So your emotions are all out of whack here. That's number one. Number two, the bottom line is the bar has been lowered.
All right.
The bar has been lowered.
I'll just remind you, though, you're the one yelling, and I'm the one bringing facts. But I'm emotional.
I didn't get facts?
It's cool.
I didn't get facts?
It's cool.
I didn't get facts?
Weaker facts.
And by the way, I'm always yelling. So what difference does it make?
All right,
I'm going to just be quiet.
Sorry about that, Marcus. Just to speak for the first time in a long time, we'll bring you that press conference live in the next hour. But first, let's tip things off with his new team, which finally snapped its 11-game losing streak, beating the Sacramento Kings last night. Seth Curry putting up 24 in his first time in a Nets uniform. Bruce Brown Jr., LaMarcus Aldridge both adding 19. KD still out with the sprained MCL in his left knee. Ben Simmons is practicing, but yet to play. Meanwhile, former Net James Harden, who is now in Philly, is supposed to get game action February 25th in Minnesota. He is out until then. Here's Kevin Durant from Saturday on the absence of Harden.
James doesn't have to explain anything to anybody. He's his own man. He makes his decisions on his career by himself. You know, he doesn't owe anybody an explanation. I wasn't looking for one. I'm just glad that we got this thing done, and now we're able to move forward and get some of this noise away from. I'm sure he'd feel the same way, but from around our team and around our group, there's noise about what may happen, and so I'm glad we could push through that. But James doesn't owe anybody an explanation. This is his life.
Okay, KD can relate to that. Monica, Harden is out till after the All-Star break. How significant is James Harden's absence?
Molly, I think it's notable that he's not getting into the mix. You look at the teams that the Sixers are going to play prior to the All-Star break. They've got the Celtics tonight, and then they'll play the defending national champions in the Bucks before the All-Star break. To me, I understand the injury, but I am just looking for an immediate display of commitment that signifies this situation is not going to be like the last two. I can appreciate what Kevin Durant said there. He strikes me as a guy that will never encroach upon anyone's autonomy, and also he just wants to play basketball. So if this clears the cloud that was formerly over the Brooklyn Nets, he's quite content. But to me, so much more pressure is now on James Harden in terms of not just the eyeballs and the way that he did this, but you are now playing alongside the current MVP in the league, and by most people's assumption, you have to show up and carry your weight all the way through. That includes putting to bed any sort of demons that have haunted him when it comes to postseason play. And so as I looked at the schedule, one of the two, I would have liked to see him make an effort. Now, if ultimately he ends up not playing a ton of minutes, that's one thing, but I'm just looking for an immediate cue that says this is going to be different.
Well, a couple of things I want to point out. First of all, whoever that picture is of that beautiful little girl in the background over your right shoulder, that's a gorgeous little girl right there. I just wanted to sit up there and say that. That's a cutie right there. That's number one.
I was looking at the picture,
It's a really, really nice picture.
I gotta be honest, she's adorable. And I like the sign that says never stop learning, because I believe in that as well.
That's right. That's right.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you, Molly.
The Warriors hat, that's a different subject. for another day. All right, it's a different subject for another
Stephen
day, okay? I'm saying, got to win a Big
gotta
East
come in
game
the
for crying
studio.
out loud. That's number one. Number two, with all due respect, Monica McNutt, I mean, the Milwaukee Bucks are the reigning defending NBA champions, not the national champions, okay? That's college. See, that's,
You're right, I did say that.
Your
I heard
Hoya
that.
paranoia, stuff
It's
like that.
all my
When they won in the
basketball.
80s, when they won in the 80s, that's what you stuck on. I understand that. Number three, I don't agree with your take. And dare I say, Monica McNutt, you're being a bit harsh on Mr. James Harden here.
Oh.
And I don't think that you're seeing the forest from the trees, let me say so respectfully. If you're James Harden, I have no problem with him missing games. You understand? Let's not confuse the issues. My issue is with Daryl Morey, who I love, by the way, and I think is an exceptional executive. But I think this deal it's not that it didn't make Philly better; it made Philly a hell of a lot better, and I get that. But it also made Brooklyn a hell of a lot better, and I think Brooklyn won this trade. That's my issue with Daryl Morey. I think he was too transparent in his desire to have James Harden. But what's done is done. Philly's a title contender. It's certainly a significant upgrade to what they was dealing with. James Harden is going to make them better. My issue with you, Monica, with what you said is this. James Harden has been out. While he was out, people were saying he really wasn't hurt. He just was, he just didn't want to be, he wanted to be out of Brooklyn so badly. Well, guess what? What does missing games now, particularly waiting until after the All-Star break, add credence to? The fact that he was legitimately injured and he didn't need to be playing and he needs to get ready. You can roll your eyes there, but the fact of the matter is, unless you have evidence to the contrary, you have to concede that that is a large possibility because we all know he wanted to be in Philly. We know he definitely wanted to be with Daryl Morey. So why would you not play, okay, if, you know what, you must be hurt. That's what some people are going to believe, and that debunks the notion that he had missed games prior to departing from Brooklyn because he was just faking his injury and he wanted to be out. Now there's some credence to it. Not to mention this. There has never, ever been more pressure on James Harden in his career than exists right now. I'm talking, this is more pressure than he was facing when he had to go up against Golden State and they went into that Game 7 in Houston on their home court at the Toyota Center with people saying, what you gonna do, James, because the numbers that you generate isn't usually what it is in the regular season compared to what you do in the postseason. Now, guess what? All of that pales in comparison to the pressure he is on right now. Philadelphia with Joel Embiid playing like a league MVP candidate. I have a vote. And right now, if the season ended, Joel Embiid would be my MVP. They kept Maxey. They kept Thibault. Okay, you still have Tobias Harris. While we sniffing at Tobias Harris, the brother is a 19 to 20 point per game scorer, shooting better than 45% from the field. People acting like the brother is just somebody. No, Tobias Harris can play. So when I look at it from that perspective, you James Harden, you come there, considering the way you departed Brooklyn, considering the way you departed Houston, and now here you are in Philadelphia. All eyes are on James Harden. That means when he steps out on that court, he don't need to be grabbing his hammy. He don't need to be limping. He don't need to be acting like he's the modern-day Willis Reed, where I'm hurting, I'm limping, but I'm coming out there taking one for the team. Nobody wants to hear that right now. This isn't Game 7 of a conference semifinals like last year or something like that. This is James Harden arriving in Philadelphia with profound, significant expectations. And he's got to deliver. And if that brother got to sit out the next 2 or 3 weeks to make sure he's ready, once he steps out on the court, go ahead and do it because that's what we're looking for.
All right. Okay, Stephen A.
Yes.
The goal is obviously a championship.
Sure.
And it is hard to argue over 2 games, right? And so I will give you that. The one thing that I am now piqued in terms of my interest is piqued that you said is whether or not he was actually injured, right?
Okay.
For me, assuming that he's actually injured, the idea that you would be concerned with the perception at this point and whether it's a real injury, maintained injury, or whether it's not to play is ridiculous to me. I think everything that he has gone about doing, he should completely own and just let the chips fall where they may. If he's injured and going to come back, then when he comes back those first few games, the way that he plays is going to matter a tremendous amount. We completely agree. This is a window for Philly. If he doesn't show up, the deal will be for naught. And so I just want him to show me that it's different. And I don't know that this is the start that I need.
All I'm saying is, in the end, when he steps on the court, when he steps on the court, that's what he's going to be held accountable for. The one thing we're not going to question right now is whether or not the brother wants to play. Because in fairness to James Harden, I understand he wanted out of Houston. They told him no initially, and he didn't handle that ideally. I get all of that. Don't blame him for the mess and the dysfunction that raked through the Brooklyn Nets franchise over this season. I'm sorry. Don't blame that. That's Kyrie Irving right there, which we will get into later, okay? And not just Kyrie Irving, it's Brooklyn Nets management. Let's not let them off the hook either. But in the end, we know that James Harden, for the most part throughout his career, until last year, the brother didn't miss games. He always showed up for games. And we know that he loves playing for Daryl Morey. So he ain't going to skip games unless he's not 100% because he understands this is it. James Harden's got to win. Yeah. James Harden's got to get it done this year. Yeah. He's got to get it done.
I'm sure that's why he wants to be 100%. He hasn't played since February 4th. He's targeting February 25th, dealing with that hamstring.
22. They're the fourth seed. They're the fourth, and they're a half game out of the third seed. Oh, my Lord, him missing a few games. Give me a break. He can afford to.
It's okay, all right, go ahead.
We're going to move on. Yeah, sip your tea or your water, whatever it is. Yeah, I saw that face too. Stephen A., what's up with your Warriors? They lost to the Jazz Wednesday, then a day later fell to the Knicks, then narrowly beat the Lakers Saturday night in Golden State thanks to a late surge by Klay Thompson, and then fell last night to the Clippers by 15. Part of the problem, that would be defense. Here's Steve Kerr.
I think the main thing is our defense has just been bad. You know, it's been bad for 6-7 games now, I think. So it's hard to win in this league when you're looking like we are defensively with so many holes in our game. Whether it's tonight it was just on-ball defense. They just spent the entire game at the front of the rim. Couldn't guard our man. Last game it was box outs, back cuts. Every game it's been something a little different. So our defense has just been really poor, and if that's the case, it's tough to win. So we got to get better with it.
Stephen A., tell me this. Obviously, the Warriors were looking like world beaters. They get Klay back. I know you're very high on them. Do you still have them coming out of the West with these struggles of late?
I still do. I have not jumped off that bandwagon. Now, what I will say is this. The Phoenix Suns do give you cause to pause momentarily. Right now, the Phoenix Suns have the best backcourt in basketball. Chris Paul, at age 36, is the best point guard in the world. Let's think about that for a second. Put Monica up on that screen. I want to make sure I see her face when I say something like that. Because Chris Paul, Molly, Monica, Chris Paul at age 36 is the best point guard in the world right now. Now, I can't speak to what's going to happen to me in June. Right now, the way Chris Paul has played this season, this dude is unreal. It's unreal. And Devin Booker has arrived. That brother is a star personified. I know this. But Steph Curry. And you see Klay Thompson coming, just like I told y'all he was coming. I told y'all, I said his game, his success ain't predicated on athleticism and speed. That brother got a stroke. He is one of the top 5 shooters in the history of basketball. And ladies and gentlemen, he is coming, okay? I'm sorry. Hasn't Draymond Green been out? Isn't he really the floor general? First of all, he's an elite defender. He was in line for Defensive Player of the Year. Monica knows this. And on top of it all, he's your orchestrator. Nobody sets up Klay and Steph better than Draymond Green. He'll be back. Wiseman, I've been told, will be back in the beginning of March. All right, he's a 7-footer with skills. And let's not forget, now, again, Phoenix picked up Biyombo and JaVale McGee to back up DeAndre Ayton. That's significant because Dario Saric goes down in the finals. Frank Kaminsky ain't going to do but so much. And you going up against the Greek Freak, that was problematic. That's why they got a couple of big boys to back up DeAndre Ayton. Well, if you're the Warriors, pay attention to that. Look at the buyout market. You got a Robin Lopez potentially. You got a DeAndre Jordan potentially, okay? You got a Derek Favors, potentially. I just need a big body, Monica, to give me 6 fouls. To give me 6 fouls in a few minutes. A big body to give me 6 fouls, a few minutes, and be able to rebound a little bit. That's all I need if I'm the Warriors. That's all I need. I need a big body. I need somebody with some beef, okay, that can give me about 10 minutes a game to rebound and to be some kind of big body opposed. I don't need anything else if I'm the Warriors. I don't need anything else. I got the guards. I got the shooters. I got the athletes. I'm not worried about a thing. So when I look at them against Phoenix, I know that Phoenix is legit. It's big time. It's an encounter that's waiting to come in. Memphis is sitting back saying, excuse me, we got something to say about all of this. We'll be in the mix too. We shall see. Utah, because my brother Donovan Mitchell is so special. I'm just so sorry he doesn't get the help that he richly deserves. But that's a story for another day, okay? I'm just looking at it, and I'm saying, y'all sleep on the Warriors all y'all want to. Y'all keep talking about they slipping. Ain't no slippage. They don't have all their horses. But they shall. And when they do, you mark my words, okay? They will be in the conference finals. I assume Phoenix is going to get there, and then we shall see. We shall see. I'm rolling with the Warriors. I ain't jumping off the bandwagon.
The Lakers
I'm not jumping
lost
off.
to them by 2 points.
I don't give a damn. So what? So what? It's a regular season game. Mere bag of shells. Probably was looking forward to the Super Bowl. They probably was looking forward to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
I'm not worried about them. Doesn't matter. They're the Warriors. Go ahead, Monica.
Okay. All right. You make great arguments, Stephen A. And we agree on this. The conference finals out west will likely be the Warriors and Phoenix, but I still maintain that the Phoenix Suns are the teams to beat. I think what happens with the Warriors, and rightfully so, we attach everything they got going, and not that they are not a championship caliber team again this year, but it's still a target on their back because of the dynasty and because of what was. And I think that lures away some of the acknowledgement that a team like the Phoenix Suns deserve. You started the conversation, Stephen A., pointing out how dynamic and well-rounded the Phoenix Suns are. And to me, the experience from last year and the continuity that they maintain makes them just as, if not, should be, depending on opinion, slightly more favored to run it back compared to the Warriors. I got to give you a credit. Klay Thompson drops 32 the other night.
33.
He looks fantastic. 33, I'm sorry.
Yes.
He looks fantastic in his return. It was so good to see him catch and shoot in rhythm, confident, emotional, pumping his fist the whole bit. Right. Draymond Green coming back. That's one guy that I think when you talk about adding him to the mix, you don't question what that will do to the established chemistry or flow, just because he is that much of an integral part about that Warriors offense in terms of facilitating. However, when I look at this Phoenix Suns squad, all they have done all season long is to continue to improve. And it's not just about Chris Paul, who leads the league in assists per game. It's not just about Devin Booker, who is rightfully so an all-star and tremendous. It's about all of those role players who are a year older and a year sharper and gaining more experience. And I would almost argue, because of folks like yourself, many a basketball consumer who continue to ping the Warriors as the team to beat, they get to fly just a little bit under the radar and quietly handle their business and keep getting better.
A couple of things. Number one, I threw some names out there. I was going to mention Tristan Thompson, but he already ended up in Indiana. I don't know who the hell's available or who the hell's going to be bought out, so I apologize if I missed anybody, if I added names that shouldn't be met. I'm just talking about anybody 6'9" and above with a big body. Okay,
trying to
that's
win.
all the Warriors need.
I get it.
That's number one. Number two, Monica, I must say,
what you need?
If I was a defendant and you were my defense attorney, I'd have to fire you. Oh. You don't sound very convincing. You're like, yes, it's the maybes and yeah, but I think no, Monica, no. Listen, you know that CP3 is phenomenal as he is. One could easily argue that his Achilles heel would be Steph Curry. Steph Curry, 6'3", lanky, long arms, the greatest shooter who ever lived. When CP3 goes against them, I mean, it's a tough outing. You know what I'm saying? Because Steph Curry gets his. We know this. That's number one. Klay Thompson is back. They beat Phoenix Christmas Day without Klay Thompson, but Klay Thompson is back now. That's number two. And I look at it from the perspective that Mikal Bridges is up this game. DeAndre Ayton has got better. I get all of that. But in the end, What it comes down to me is that the Phoenix Suns have been who they are all year long with all their bodies in tow. The Warriors, not so much. Clay hasn't been there. Dre hasn't been there. Wiseman hasn't been there. The buyout market, listen, Bob Myers knows what the hell he's doing now. This is one of the elite executives in the game. He knows what he's doing. If there's a weakness, he'll correct it. I'm just saying. I look at that and championship experience. It was beautiful to see because I wanted my man CP3 to win his first chip, okay, after he got to the finals for the first time last year. I'm a fan of Monty Williams, who's a phenomenal coach, okay? All right, we get all of that, and Devin Booker is a superstar in my mind. But the Warriors, 3-time champions, 5 straight trips to the finals, those brothers are there. They know what it takes. And while everybody's pointing at Phoenix and the Coyotes and the Heat, that the Heat in Arizona, they are forgetting.
Monica, last word here, please.
Okay, one, I am excited to see James Wiseman return because I think he has a bright future in this league, but I'm not sure what everybody thinks he did last year that makes him such a piece moving forward, but that's neither here nor there. I will submit this one thing to you, Stephen A. When it comes to Steph Curry being potentially, as you call it, Chris Paul's Achilles heel, I also think that in terms of the defensive fortitude, in terms of stepping up to the challenge and making it difficult, because you don't stop Steph Curry, making it difficult on Steph Curry, you got to look at Bridges and a little bit of Cam Johnson as well in terms of the length that they're able to throw in his direction to disrupt that.
And he's going to play a bigger role this year than he did in last year's NBA playoff finals. I'm a fan of Cam Johnson's.
Monica, sit tight. We're going to deal with some NFL, and then we will check back with you in just a bit. Moving on here, guys. The Cardinals probably wish the NFL season to go. 1 hour down, 1 to go. We will hear from Ben Simmons. For the very first time, we are going to take that press conference live. Do not miss it. I'm sure Stephen A., Monica will have plenty to say about that. Also, Mina Kimes joining us in just a bit to talk some football. But first, the Nets snap an 11-game losing streak, beating the Kings last night. But Brooklyn has gotten themselves in a bit of a hole. 8th in the East with 25 games left to play, and due to vaccination, state to state, Kyrie Irving is eligible to play in 8 of those games. So the Nets have struggled in their last 12 with both their offense and defense ranking near the bottom of the league. Despite snapping their losing streak, no team has ever lost 10 straight in a regular season and went on to win a playoff series. Here's Kyrie.
There's no guilt that I feel. You know, I'm the only player that has to deal with this in New York City because I play there. If I was anywhere else in another city, then it probably wouldn't be the same circumstance. I'm noticing that people like to make jokes about what's going on in half game or half man or whatever it is. And, you know, my family has to see some of that stuff. My teammates have to see some of that. And like I said, the outside noise creeps in at times, but it doesn't impact me because I'm used to this.
Okay. Marcus is here for this too. I haven't heard the half man, half time, but I have heard part-time Kyrie.
Me neither.
Monica, I'll start with you. Do you think Kyrie should feel guilty for Brooklyn's struggles? And I'll remind people that he's only eligible to play in their 8 games left, and there's 25 to go.
I don't know if guilty is the word I would use, Molly, Stephen A., and Swagu. I thought that those comments came off a little bit flippant. I would expect to see a little bit more, maybe compassion, somewhere between compassion and remorse. Kyrie has made his choice, and he's been allowed to proceed accordingly. But I think as he talks about the experience for his family and his teammates, you are part of the experience for your teammates as this team set out to win a title this year. And so I think he took it had a woe is me smirky tone about it that to me did not consider the Brooklyn Nets organization in totality. Now, yes, if he was in another state, different case, but that is not where we are. And so I think I would have liked to hear him acknowledge the position that he's put the rest of his team in. And that may not mean he moves off his stance, but just understand that this isn't just everybody versus you. You are directly affecting a team and their goals in this. So I was a little disappointed by those comments.
Marcus, talk to me.
Yeah, nothing about Kyrie has changed, y'all. And I would love to come on here and say that, Kyrie should feel good. He shouldn't. This has been Kyrie's stance since the beginning. We can be mad about it. We can talk about it. We can have our own opinions and feelings about how this thing is transpired. But this is Sean Marks and this organization. They first initially said that they were going to proceed with the guys that are available. And then they capitulated, using one of Stephen A's words, to let Kyrie back when they're on the road. This is on the Brooklyn Nets. Like, all of this turmoil. Look, this is not absolving Kyrie of anything, right? Outside of the Kyrie vaccination status, let me make this clear for everybody since we're talking about it. I do not care about Kyrie's vaccination status. Kyrie made his decision about a vaccination. That's not what this is about. This is about the other guys. And to your point, Monica, like, the idea of what was supposed to be transpiring in Brooklyn was they are going after a championship. We're talking about basketball and what they set out to do and the things that are hindering that. Now James is out. Obviously that there is some friction there between him and Kyrie and things that transpire with the Brooklyn Nets. But ultimately, when I was sitting here before the season started and we found this information out about Kyrie Irving, Sean Marks and the Brooklyn Nets made a clear statement that they were going to proceed with this season a certain way. They changed that, and now we're seeing all things come to a head and things start to fall apart. Coincidentally, this is what they bargained for when they decided to let Kyrie come back and just play away games.
First order of business. I'm going to, and y'all can put Swagoo and Monica up on the screen because I love looking at them. First things first. I'm going to monitor my tone because Molly obviously felt that I was being a little emotional.
Oh, would you get out of your
And
feelings?
so as a result, I will say this calmly, okay, just to show the world my range. I don't always have to elevate my volume to make my points. We all know how I feel about Kyrie. I think that Kyrie is a superstar extraordinaire. He is box office. That brother is worth $50 million a year as far as I'm concerned, so long as we know he's going to get off the bus and play, because he's that spectacular of a player. I'm also an individual that is on the record that does not believe that Kyrie Irving could be trusted. I don't believe he ever deserved a long-term contract again in his career. I would give him 1 year at a time. Max dollars, he don't deserve to be paid less than anybody because he's that spectacular. But you paid to show up and play and to put your excellence on display. And that is something that he has struggled to do. To Kyrie Irving, I want to say he on national television. I'll deal with Papa Kyrie. You know, Diedrich, when I see him, based on a text he once sent me, that's none of anybody's business but ours. I'll deal with that when he and I run into each other and we'll have a conversation like grown men should, okay? As it pertains to Kyrie's family, I'm incredibly sensitive to what Kyrie has said because it's serious and people, I'm not joking about it, but other people have joked about it, and that's something that we should always be take seriously because we don't want people's families looking at them and looking at somebody be ridiculed. I mean, you play, and we got to call it like we see it. But when we get off the court of play or off the field of play and we start talking about people's behavior, we start talking about people's character, that's not a joke. Now, if you play like a joke, deal with that. If you shoot 1 for 20 and stuff like that, get over it, okay? Ain't no compassion or sympathy because we just talking about your performance, not you as a man. But with Kyrie Irving, it's certainly transcended off the court. And so the level of sensitivity that he has towards what his family is hearing, I respect the hell out of that. I appreciate him saying that. And I'm going to treat this subject and any future conversations about Kyrie with the seriousness that it deserves, even though I wasn't joking about him before, because I meant what the hell I said. And I'm going to reiterate that point now. Marcus Spears, Monica McNutt, Kyrie Irving, his first year in Brooklyn, missed 52 games. Got injured, but he missed 52 games. Kyrie Irving last year missed 28 games. Kyrie Irving this year has only played in 14 games. Everything ain't been about the vaccine. Marcus, I'm with you. As somebody who went through hell, going through COVID and all of this stuff, even though I'm a proponent of taking the vaccine, who the hell am I? I only do it because my doctors, my medical professionals that I trust have advised me to do so. If somebody else's medical professionals advise them against that, I never ran into a medical professional that has advised against it. But if they have one, more power to them. I'm not here to judge Kyrie Irving about his vaccination status. I'm talking about Kyrie Irving, the baller, who doesn't want to ball nearly as much as other ballers want to ball. KD, James Harden, and countless other players in the NBA were very reluctant and hesitant to take the vaccine. LeBron James is on the record, reluctant to take the vaccine. But they ultimately made a decision because they got a job to do. Andrew Wiggins took the vaccine. Didn't want to take it, but took the vaccine anyway because he wanted to play. Everybody universally had a problem with the mandate. Tens of millions of Americans have a problem with mandates. 1,500 people in New York City just got laid off because of their refusal to take the vaccine. But over 95% of law enforcement officials, medical workers, and what have you take the vaccine because why? That's the mandate that's been handed down by the local government. What I'm saying to you is this. Kyrie's refusal to do so has to take that into consideration. You the dude that said, hell with all of y'all, I'ma do what I feel. Right or wrong, that's your position. Now, why does that matter? Here's why it matters. There was no vaccine when the season was halted. Monica, you remember this. When they resumed play in the bubble, who was the vice president in the Players Association trying to dissuade players to play in the bubble? That was Kyrie Irving. By the way, he didn't even consult with Chris Paul, the president. He just went out publicly and took that position. Then when they came back after bubble play, and then after the break, once the Lakers won the championship in the bubble, there was a 10-month gap between February and then December of 2020. The season started on December 22nd. 2 weeks later, 2 weeks, January 6th, Kyrie Irving needed a break because he was traumatized by the riots at the U.S. Capitol. What the hell that got to do with playing basketball? What that got to do with doing your job? We all showed up the next day. Tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people had to work the next day in the United States of America. Kyrie, the one that didn't show up. And then you were so traumatized that you got busted partying with your family without a mask on, knowing that it was in violation of the NFL safety protocols, which further delayed your return to playing basketball and doing your job. And all the while, the people in Brooklyn, not that fans were coming in attendance or whatever, I'm saying over the 3 years he's been in Brooklyn, people basically have gotten to see him more on the road than they've got to see him at the Barclays Center. So at the end of the day, your priority towards doing your job that you get paid to do, that enables you to be philanthropic to a very high level, enables you to be charitable, and all of that other stuff is because you get paid to play basketball. And what's the one thing you haven't done enough of? Play basketball. That is the story about Kyrie Irving. That is why he should feel guilty, because he comes across, at the very least, selfish. It's about him. Kyrie's working. Kyrie came back to the NBA ready to ball because he was always working out. But he the kind of guy, y'all, he'll work out 10 hours a day. You just don't tell him when to do it. You don't just show up to practice, listening to the GM, the coach, or whatever. He wants to do things on his own terms. Okay. And anybody who feels differently, you're peons. You're small-minded. You're not on his level. That's Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, I do have a problem with that.
Guilty. That is why he should feel guilty.
It's not team behavior.
Yeah.
It's a shame that that's his priority instead of doing his job first.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are up against it. We have to get into commercial break, but we are going to have much more on this subject. Don't you worry. Coming up, Richard Sherman went in on the idea of Matthew Stafford being a future Hall of Famer. Mina Kimes joins the show to break it all down. Plus, so good to see you. We shared Richard Sherman's comments earlier. Richard saying, Mina, that the bar has been lowered. Do you think Stafford is a Hall of Famer?
I do not. Now, right now, I do not. I agree with Sherman. Look, Matthew Stafford just had a hell of a postseason, hell of a season, and deserves a lot of credit for proving his critics wrong. But I think we got to pump the brakes a little on going right from the Super Bowl to Canton. My opinion is that the Hall of Fame, the bar that Sherman refers to, should be that a player has been either the best or among the best at his position, ideally for some period of time. Matthew Stafford has played 12 seasons in the NFL. In those 12 seasons, he's been in 1 Pro Bowl, never been an All-Pro. He has finished top 5 in passer rating once and top 5 in touchdowns 3 times. Now, the case for him getting in at this point is this incredible postseason run and all the counting stats, right? The fact that he ranks so high in career yards and touchdowns. But you got to look at the NFL and how it's changed over the last few years, last decade really, and you're going to see if you start leaning on those counting stats, a lot of players will get in simply because of the changing nature of football and how long they've played. Matthew Stafford still has a chance to get in if he continues to play at a high level longer and gets to more Super Bowls, absolutely. But for right now, can't we just enjoy what he's accomplished without putting him in a gold jacket?
Well, first of all, a couple of things. First of all, Mina, it's beautiful to see you without your hair blowing all over the place because you were outside.
That was rough, man.
Southern
That was rough.
California with the sunshine in the background. It's very, very, very nice to see you under normal circumstances, okay? Let's get that out the way first. Secondly, I get where you're coming from, but I'm going to lean on what Richard Sherman said. I think Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Famer exactly because of what Richard Sherman pointed out. The bar has been lowered. That's my issue. That's my issue. Now, according to your standards, according to the standards that I would have and what have you, there's a few people that might not be up in there. And I brought up Eli Manning earlier for a reason. I brought up mediocre record, led the league in interceptions 3 times, never accused of being the best quarterback in football. He's got 2 Super Bowl championships and the MVPs along with it, even though I would point to the defense and the way they played against Tom Brady in both of those games. But that's neither here nor there. I'm simply pointing out that combined with everything that everybody has said about the Detroit Lions. Let me go back to when Matthew Stafford was traded to the Los Angeles Rams last offseason. Everybody in the football world, it was major headlines. It was a blockbuster deal. It automatically catapulted the Rams to championship contention. Well, why? Because everybody said, well, we ain't talking about the Detroit Lions. We're talking about Matthew Stafford. He's different than the Detroit Lions. He is a person that suffered from being a Detroit Lion. Yeah. It wasn't his fault that they were that way. This is what people said. So I'm pointing to, again, I'm not debating anything that you said. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. I'm saying everybody was talking about how Matthew Stafford was the exception. The organization he represented and the teams they put out on the field with him, they were never deserving of his talent. He was a loyalist. He was somebody that went out there and performed in spite of what he was surrounded by. He was lucky to get to the playoffs 3 times with what he had to work with, even though he had Megatron, Calvin Johnson. We can't forget that. But people were still looking at the Detroit Lions as that organization. As an organization, I will remind everybody that has not won a single playoff game since 1991. It's been 30 years since they won a playoff game. They've had a winless season. They almost had another one a couple of times, okay? So we look at it from that perspective and we say, that ain't Matthew Stafford. And the first time he gets away from them, the very first season he gets away from them, he wins a Super Bowl. If you're going to look at it from that perspective, again, I lean on Richard Sherman. The bar has been lowered. Yeah. That is why I say, according to that, I guess he is a Hall of Famer.
But can't we raise the bar, Stephen A? I mean, as arbiters of who, or I guess if it's our job to give takes on who does belong, who is the greatest. And to your point about the Lions, there is a universe in which Matthew Stafford was on a better team, say the Rams, I don't know, for longer, and had performed at that higher level and had been in more Pro Bowls and had finished top 5 in a number of categories. And in that universe, maybe he would be a Hall of Famer already. But unfortunately, all we can do is look at the career he has put together up to this point. And I want to say this. He's 33? He's got another season with this very good football team. And I could very well be changing my tune in a year if he repeats this sort of performance. But right now, based on what he's accomplished, based on the fact that he has not been one of the best quarterbacks in football for 12 seasons, I just can't do it.
Same page.
I will tell you this. What I was told by all of you football experts was that he was one of the best as a talent. The numbers are not going to show it because of who he was playing for, which is why everybody. Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on. I didn't say me. I said football experts such as yourself, Mina. Okay. When this man arrived in L.A., why was it such a big deal? Why was it such a big deal?
The relative jump over Jared Goff. That's why.
That's not the only reason. He catapulted the Rams to championship contention because we knew what skills he had.
Hold that thought. We're up against it because Ben Simmons is going to be live in just a minute. But, Mina, when you are back, we need to also address Eli Manning because I want your opinion if you believe he's a Hall of Famer as well. Unfortunately, we don't have time for that right now.
Giants fan. She's so emotional about him.
Oh, my goodness. We will leave it there. In Brooklyn yesterday, the newly acquired Net was on the scene, smiling on the bench while the team played the Kings. They snapped an 11-game losing streak. We will wait to bring you out to his press conference live in mere moments. Meanwhile, Monica, I want to talk about Ben Simmons in this acquisition. What type of impact do you think he will have? And I'm going to be honest with you, I really just care about the playoffs.
I think most of us feel that way, Molly.
Right?
You know, last night I was getting ready for SportsCenter this morning and digging into some numbers in terms of what will now surround Ben Simmons. So much has been made, and rightfully so, of his shooting or his room to grow when it comes to the shooting category. But I was looking at it, and he's got two almost 40% three-point shooters in Patty Mills and Seth Curry that he'll now play alongside. Both KD and Kyrie shoot at least 36% or better. LaMarcus Aldridge is more than happy to pick and pop, and he's shooting a serviceable 31% from behind the arc. And then if Joe Harris ever gets healthy, 46% from three. And so I think the pieces now around him fit his skill set perfectly. And we're just talking about the offensive side of the ball. And that's his ability to push pace. That's his ability, obviously, to be a tremendous setup guy with his assists. And then defensively, he could guard 1 through 5. There were points last night as this team played the Kings where I just wondered if Ben Simmons was on the floor for Andre Drummond. And yeah, it might be a smaller lineup, but the versatility that might exist there. And I know the Kings are not necessarily a team to get super excited about in terms of playoff potential, but you can see it. And so, Stephen A., earlier in the show, you talked about this possibly being a thorn in Daryl Morey's side the rest of his career. This trade absolutely made the Brooklyn Nets better, and it is very, very exciting. And we're just talking about Ben Simmons. We haven't even really gotten to the depth of what Seth Curry will now add.
Let me say this. I think that the Brooklyn Nets clearly won this trade because I think Ben Simmons is an all-world athlete and defender. They got another shooter, and Seth Curry showed up last night, and Andre Drummond's a big body to rebound to join with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. I think that they're better than Philadelphia. Harden can negate all of that by putting forth a Herculean performance the rest of the season along with Joel Embiid, reminding us of who he was in Houston. But it may very, very well come to that. But Ben Simmons, what's been lost in the shuffle of all of these supposed, things about mental health and whatever, and we take that very, very seriously. Let's be very clear. Ben Simmons is 6'10". He handles the ball like a guard. He passes. His basketball IQ is off the charts. His athleticism, particularly when he's coming downhill, the brother's sensational. And he is a lockdown defender, one of the top 3 defenders in basketball. He was my vote for I have a vote. I voted for him Defensive Player of the Year last year.
Yeah, he finished second. Yep.
That is what the Brooklyn Nets have acquired. And when you consider Milwaukee, Miami, Philadelphia, particularly potentially having to guard Harden, believe it or not, and all of that other stuff, this man, Ben Simmons, can end up determining whether the Brooklyn Nets come out of the East. Because remember, it's powerful at 6'11". Ben Simmons is no weakling, and he's 6'10". So if we could see KD at times guarding Giannis, who's to say Ben can't? So Ben defending against Giannis, Ben defending against Jimmy Butler, or a Tyler Hero, or a Bam Adebayo, Ben defending against James Harden. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, let's hold that thought. We're going to have much more on this. Ben Simmons live from Brooklyn. We will send it out there right now.
Hey, Ben. Was there anything this season that could have changed your mind and got you to play again?
Towards, getting back on the floor. And yeah, so no date yet, but, I'm starting to ramp it up.
Hey, Ben. Was there anything this season that could have changed your mind and got you to play again, or was your mind made up and, until you were out of Philadelphia, you were definitely not going to play again?
For me, it was just making sure mentally I was right to get out there and play again. So that's something I've been, dealing with. And it wasn't about the fans or coaches or comments made by anybody. It was just a personal thing for me. That was earlier than, that series or even that season that I was dealing with. And that organization knew that. So it was something that, I continue to deal with, and, I'm getting there and getting to the right place to, get back on the floor.
Hey, Ben, there was so much sourced reporting around everything going on with you. So I guess so you're saying that the mental health issue preceded you requesting the trade in the off season. Okay, I guess can you just shed a little light on the timeline and everything?
Yeah, for me, that was never, the mental health has nothing to do with just the trade. It was a bunch of things that I was dealing with as a person in my personal life that I don't really want to go into depth with. But yeah, I'm here now. So, it's a blessing to be, in an organization like this. And, I'm just looking forward to getting back on the floor and building something great here.
First off, welcome to Brooklyn. For you personally moving forward, I'm curious what the kind of things are, if you can even quantify them, have to happen, I guess, for you to be in the right headspace, to be out on the court and competing.
Just staying on top of what I need to stay on top of, and being consistent with that is getting to the place where I can do that.
Hey, Ben, I wanted to ask you a couple things. When you played your last game with the Sixers, what was going through your mind? What were your last emotions? And what was the straw that basically snapped that made you say, it's time to go?
I don't think it was really that. It was more so just it was just piled up, a bunch of things that have gone on over the years to where I just knew I wasn't myself, and I needed to get back into that place of, being myself and being happy as a person, and taking care of my well-being. And that was that was the major thing for me. It wasn't about the basketball. It wasn't about the money, anything like that. I want to be who I am and get back to, playing basketball at that level and, being myself.
And the last game?
Last game?
Yeah, what's kind of what was going on through your mind after the last game?
I need to get in a good place mentally, honestly. That was the main thing.
And when you look at this roster, the makeup of this team, there are times where you could be on the floor with KD and Kyrie. You could be out there without either one of them. How do you see your role in fitting in, or what kind of conversations have you had with Steve about what that would be?
Yes, I think it's just staying aggressive, playing to my strengths, and that's, being a playmaker and making the right plays, setting my guys up, and then defensively, obviously, locking down who I need to lock down. So I'm excited to, get in the floor with these guys. Is incredible team, incredible talent. So super excited.
Hey, Ben, how's it going? Welcome to Brooklyn. Obviously, Kyrie was away from basketball for a little while at the beginning of the season. He was talking about how difficult it was for him to practice, to play against high caliber players because everyone's obviously in their seasons. What were you able to do while you were away from the team that would, I guess, be able to help you prepare for this moment?
Just being consistent with my work. Every day, being very consistent with my work, making sure I'm taking care of my body, and then staying on the floor. So I was on the floor pretty much every day, just trying to stay ready physically.
Kind of just touching that a little bit. So have you been playing pickup, like lifting? I guess, what has your routine been since you've been away from the team and everything?
Right. So lifting, Pilates, all of that. And then on court, being with my trainers, ones, twos. We've had some bodies for, 3-on-3, 4-on-4.
Hey, Ben, I know you're moving forward. You're all about today and what's happening in Brooklyn. But just again, with all that sourced reporting around what was going on with you, I guess just for Sixers fans, did you feel like you couldn't get back to the place where you wanted to be in Philadelphia? And was that part of the reason you asked for a trade? I guess, could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that was part of it. I think, I just wasn't in the place there to do that. And a lot of things had happened over that summer to where I didn't feel like I was getting that help. But it is what it is. I don't have wasn't a personal thing towards, any player or coach or, owners or anything like that. It was about myself, getting to a place where, I need to be.
When it comes to that mental recalibration, has it helped, or even how much has it helped just to have a change of pace, a different environment, where to take your skills?
I think it has. I think just the way everybody's welcomed me here has been great. It's been a very positive experience, it's just being here so far. And, I'm looking forward to what's to come.
And a couple quick ones, just following up on the Philly stuff. Why do you think it got so bad there?
If I knew, I would tell you everything. But there's just a lot of things internally that, had happened over time. And it just got to a place where I don't think it was good for me mentally. So, it is what it is. It happened, and moving forward. So.
And as far as playing with Kyrie and KD, how do you think what you do accentuates what they already do on the floor well?
I think it's going to be scary. Having those guys running alongside me, there's, multiple different weapons on the floor. And I think at the pace we want to play at, it's going to be unreal.
I'm wondering, like, as someone who's, plays basketball for a living and loves the game, was it difficult to, kind of stick with that? And what was the most challenging thing about that?
Not doing what I love. That was definitely the most difficult part, especially for that long. And, when you take someone away from somebody that, what they love doing, it's hard for anybody. So, over time, I worked on that and trying to stay in a positive place and get to, where I need to be. It was difficult, but, I'm blessed to be in this situation and have this opportunity.
Ben, who was your supporting cast that helped you get through this time? And was it hard not to, it seemed like for a while, every day somebody was saying something, whether it was somebody, Sixers, media, did you pay attention to that? And did any of that bite you?
This is the first time I'm really speaking out, right? So last 6 months, I had everybody saying something, but not everybody knew. So I can't really say anything negative towards anybody that was saying something because they just didn't know. And I'm not the type of person to try to put somebody down for something I don't know about. That's just not me as a man. So, I have my family there supporting me from day one, friends. I've made a ton of friends that work with the Sixers too. So it was never, a personal thing. It was just for my well-being to get where I need to be to.
And is there anything that was said that you heard that you'd like to clear up that you?
Man, we'll be here for a while if that's the case. There's been, everybody had a source, right? There's hundreds of sources.
I apologize if I'm getting ahead of ourselves too much, but you guys do have a game in Philly in a couple of weeks. Do you think you can be ready for that? Physically, mentally, I imagine it's I
hope so.
Lisa Salters.
Hey, Ben, just you saying that you want to get back to being the guy, the player that you are mentally, physically. Just where are you now mentally and physically? Where do you think you are?
Physically, I think, over the last 6 months I've been working, so I feel physically pretty good. Mentally, I'm getting there, so it's an ongoing thing to just stay on top of that. But I think I'm heading in the right direction.
Thank you.
Ben, you said you were looking forward to that game against the Sixers. I'm curious, do you think the way all of this went down, the proximity, the quality of the rosters, the caliber of players, yourself and James, do you think, that this is instantly now going to become a fierce rivalry?
I've been on the other side, so I've played Brooklyn in the first round and had them booing and Jared Dudley talking shit to me. So that was a lot of fun, though. I love Jared for that. But no, I want everybody to be looking at us like we're the best team, and we got to get there. It's going to take time, but I'm positive we can do that. And, I believe in, coaches and the organization here and the players to do that.
And secondly, you talked about having to get in the right mental space to be able to play. When you see, or maybe you don't see them, when people are commenting or opining that this was not real, this is fake, these are lies, whatever, do you take offense to that?
No, because I can't tell somebody else how they feel, right? I can't tell somebody, you know, you need to do this or that, because I don't know how they feel. I don't know what they're going through. I don't know how they're processing things. So I can't do that, but I can't also put somebody else, you know, down for having those comments. I'm just not that person, you know. I'm never going to put my teammates down, my coaches or anything like that. So it's just, you know, it is what it is.
Malika Andrews.
Hey, Ben, I have two for you. I'm just curious. One, what was the communication like with Philadelphia on the way out? And as you look back, is there anything in order to kind of move forward that you would have done differently?
Yeah, I think the communication, I spoke to Elton, I spoke to Josh Harris, they called me, I spoke to Doc Rivers, and I spoke to Tobias. There was a couple other places I spoke to about it. And, you know, they were happy, you know, for me to just be in a different situation and, you know, for me to get back on the floor eventually. So overall, I think, you know, they supported me well enough through this.
Did you speak with Joel?
No, I did not.
Thank you.
Ben, trade deadline day, were you pretty nervous? And what were your emotions when you got the call, when you got the word that it was done, and who gave you that information?
Yeah, I was sitting there on my laptop with the TV in front, so my phone just started blowing up, and it didn't feel real for a few days, honestly. So once I actually drove into the city, I was like, wow, I'm really here, which was very surreal because I got my family 30 minutes away. You know, I got my grandparents 30 minutes away, so it's nice to have them, you know, close by also. And I think just this whole experience has been kind of surreal.
Was there like an emotion release of any sort?
I don't think it really hit me until I was, you know, by myself.